Well, hello there, my friends. Welcome back to my room. My name's Mikey, and it's time for another tutorial. Okay, so many thanks, everybody, for your suggestions and all the various things you want to learn to draw. We are going to make our way through this amazing list of cool things, and eventually, once we've ticked off all the female things, get onto the males and other anime sort of situations as well. But something you guys have been getting in touch with is, how do you draw a female anime character in a side-on profile view, straight down the side, because we've done tutorials about the front and other angles and so on, and also a little bit more focus on how to draw the back of an anime character as well. So yeah, we're going to dive in. Right now, up on the screen, somewhere in the top right-hand corner, is a link just saying that we've got a torso tutorial already in place. So we've done all about the front, and there's a bit of back in there as well, but it's time to dive into the back into a little more detail, and then actually simplify it. So firstly, I'm going to just start to draw a random anime character from behind. Oh, and by the way, everybody, grab yourself, of course, a sheet of paper, super cheap pencil, rubber if you make mistakes. I know it means condom in some countries, I don't care. And just get cracking and keep up. So by drawing a character from behind, I'm going to start with a head area, and I'm going to do that by starting to draw a very rough, loose circle. Oh dear, I'm going to have to slow down a bit. I have just, as ever, making these tutorials. Sometimes I do these first thing in the morning. I have, of course, just woken up and gotten out of bed. So we're going to keep this nice and easy. Maybe this head will be ever so slightly to the side. We're looking at it from the rear, which means this line is the rear part of the skull in this instance. So maybe the jawline comes up to here, and we'll see the side and back of the ear around about there. And what I like to do with these anime characters is actually drop a line off to represent the curve of the spine. This is a very useful line which tells us all about the weight of a character, how the character is going to be standing, what they might be up to, and so on. Just as simple as that. Now, I'm making these construction lines that I use very, very dark, much darker than real life. Hopefully, yep, good, so that you can see them through the camera phone. That's the main point. So, if I have an anime character like this, I'm going to just, again, get a line in that tells us very loosely about the shoulders, get a line in around about here that tells us very loosely about the hips as well. And if this is all a bit fresh to you, we've got loads of different tutorials that talk about the guidelines to make up a character and exactly what we're going on with here. But if we get our old circular elliptical egg upside down kind of egg shape that represents the ribcage for a lot of our anime characters, I'm just going to build in something up and around here like so, and then coming off from the hips we build up this kind of circular, flattened off the bottom elliptical shape around about here. Kind of flattens out a little bit here where the hip bones themselves come up and in. Then you kind of get to pinch it into an hourglass figure, a bit like so, to create the form. Now we know what we're doing from the front. Let's get some shoulder circles in there as well. Lovely. Jubbly. So let's talk about the back really quickly. Now, there are loads of muscle groups that build up the back, and this is important to know because the back view of an anime character is often really overlooked. When you're designing your own characters at home or having a go at drawing, it's very, very rare that you do them in detail from behind or walking away or anything like that. In fact, let's very quickly just add a tiny bit of bum off of here, just to give it some context, like so. This is very loose because we're going to just talk about the details and how this is built up for a moment. Then we're going to worry about how this actually affects your design in just a little bit of a moment. So let's get into this. Now, the back itself has all sorts of muscles and things. We are going to simplify these muscle groups just so that we can focus on the bits of the muscles which actually create definition and shape in slightly more simplified anime drawings as opposed to what they might do when it comes to doing very realistic life studies and so on. And that is that there's this line down the back which represents the divot, which is the spine. That's the main bit. And how that's built up is that you usually see kind of two main trunks around about here and around about here. So I'm just going to draw these right in. If you imagine like a trunk muscle here and a trunk muscle here, the gap in the middle is the sort of divot of the spine, and these link into an area called the posterior superior iliac spine. Yeah, I've got good knowledge. But basically, this is kind of the zone where you get those weird bum dimples around about here and here. Damn, that's a real good dimple. And what these guys do is they make you stand up tall and straight. They are the erector muscles of the lower back. Erector spinae, something like that. I don't know my Latin. Now, these guys are often going to cause a bit of a line to appear here, where there's the dark divot of the spine. Up and around this whole zone here and here, you don't really need to worry about too much. They don't create many lines or cast many shadows or many forms. But in a real quick overview, they are like the middle back muscles. They're the lats, the latimus dorsi, for pull-ups and things like that. Now, the main bits that you tend to see up towards the top are going to be the backs of the shoulder muscles. So you've got the shoulders here, which are, of course, your deltoids. So let's get that in. And it's not very pronounced at all with female anime characters. I will be doing a video in the future where we actually discuss the difference between muscle groups of men and women and the different line weights and how you draw one over the other, but that's further down the road. And these kind of rear delts also kind of basically link into the shoulder blades. So if you imagine this zone being something like this, we've got a shoulder blade here going into rear delts, and something like this, shoulder blade to rear delts. Just give it a little bit of line weight over here, and up over here, just so that you can understand the zone I'm going on about. So you often get shadows or line weights put about here and about here, just to show that the shoulder blades themselves protrude out a bit from the back. And then the main bit you've got here, the real game changer, right up here, right up to the back of the neck, and also forming a lot of the neckline and shoulder line are the other main muscle groups for traps, your trapezius muscles, I think that's how you say it, of the upper back. And they pull everything together and keep your head on and all that sort of stuff. So what you've kind of got going on are these weird main grouping areas that flex and pull and tuck in various different ways. So you've got your, over here, your traps right down the middle. It drops down into the trunk area, the erector spine or erector spinae. And then you've got your shoulders and the delts. And you've also got your lats as well down here. So there we go. That's a really quick summary of muscles in the back. Let's actually have a go at an anime character in a bit more of a pose that actually, instead of filling in all these muscle groups, because that's not too necessary, we're going to just use it as a bit of a guideline for where we have lines in the back, where you draw things in, and now at least you're going to have a little bit more of an idea why. So I guess this head can be probably more turned towards us, if anything. So I'm just going to bring this up in here, probably have a brow line here. And hopefully, right now up in the corner of the screen again, getting used to these YouTube cards, you've probably got some sort of indicator, just letting you know that I've already done tutorials on drawing a head from the front, side and back angles and so on. So you can always take a look at that. Maybe the eye lines probably round about there, which means we've got an ear somewhere. Actually, it's tilted up, so somewhere around about here. Again, this isn't a tutorial on head, so I won't get too into it. But basically, now that I've got the head in place, I know that I can start my line weight and spine by curving it all the way down through this image. So I'm going to have this a touch more side on, but only barely, just so we can look at some differences in definition on one part of the back and the other. And I'm just going to make that line come up here and around up here. Let's have a really quick check through the camera phone, make sure it's all in focus. Lovely, it is. And with this character again, I'm going to start off by some lines just to show out where I'm going to balance the shoulders. Again, I like to have a line in, this one's a bit more close up, where I'm going to balance out the hips, somewhere like so. Then we can dive in and talk about the back. Now, as a very rough rule of thumb, I did mention just here this hourglass figure situation. And sometimes that helps people a bit more when drawing from the back than when just doing the same sort of organic shapes that I often go on about. So if you just imagine kind of downward triangle here, and then a much wider and flatter upward triangle here. Some people really like to get their artwork done in that style of shape. I've been seeing it a lot more recently, and it's absolutely fine. But still, I prefer my more sort of organic curves. So I'm still going to get a curve in and give it some weight here. That's going to be most of the chest area as you're seeing it from behind. And then when it comes to the actual hips here, I still like to curve them out, just up here, same up here, like so, and then we can just get that all joined in as such. The hip bones just tucking in here, then we've got the side, and on this side, because we're getting a bit more of a back on view, as you can tell by this curve of the spine, and we'll talk about this curve more in just a moment on a side-on view, we get to bring this edge just tucking in down here before coming round and back like so. So in this example again, now I know where the hips are, the bottom hip area. I'm just going to get in some buttocks, basically some bum muscle, just around about here on this character, and then tends to flatten out a bit at the bottom, and then curve back up here like so, and then a very similar situation obviously happening on this side as well. Up there, up and around, and just maybe a little bit of a line there. And of course, that means we've got some legs dropping off around about here and down there as well. But again, not worrying too much about that side of things. That is not what we're here about at the moment. Great. So, with this character, in order to create some more pinch and pull, because I've been looking at all sorts of reference images this morning before recording, we're going to have the arms up and show how that pulls things in. And hopefully, that will lead us into maybe a tutorial in the future where we're going to focus more on the neck and shoulders and how it all comes together. But basically, I'm going to bring my shoulder circles up this time, ever so slightly, because these arms are going to be up and away from us. And then I'll just get an arm that kind of goes off with a little bit of foreshortening there, maybe comes back to the head, and then another one really foreshortened away here, and maybe just comes up as well. Why reduce not? So cheeky little elbow circles here and here. And of course, we've talked about arms and how to draw them as well in another tutorial on screen now. But we're going to just obviously get these bits out of the way just to give it some context before focusing on the back. Let's have this up here, like so. Hand zones here. This isn't a hand tutorial, so I'm just going to get very vague. And then arm up here, like so. And of course, that's also going to the top of the head for the sake of this example. Lovely. Now, filling out this back area and getting things in. When we've got the back of the neck coming down here, we get to just highlight the fact that the neck itself drops off where it meets from the jawline. And with this raised shoulder, it's going to really bump out and pull. So I'm going to, using the shoulder circle as a guideline, really bring this up here and allow it to be like almost a teardrop. If you imagine there's a circle shape here, it goes into a teardrop along the arm in that direction. That pulls up, and there's going to be a sort of divot in an area around about here where all these strong upper muscles for traps reach into the deltoid, reach into the shoulders themselves. So around about here, like so. You're often going to get a divot shape there from the back, and then very similar on this side. If we allow this line to come out and then create again this connection point where it actually meets into this shoulder that's sort of all pulled and tensed up. So again, we'll just turn this one into a bit more of a point. If you imagine again this teardrop shape and then pointing up the arm, gives us a bit more form, allows us to then go away up the arm to continue the rest of the character like so. So let's get that up away there, just like it was there. Lovely, got some tricep shape there and going off up the arm. And so again, I'm just going to, lovely, still in focus, just highlight this line a little bit more to show you the ones that we're keeping. This line here comes into here to create this divot, just like it does here, and then becoming the shoulders off there. So this is where the shoulders themselves pull up, and then when it comes to the shoulder blades, because we talk about this all being sort of one kind of section, we get to kind of just imagine again this kind of paddle shape. It's kind of around here. And we're just going to, instead of drawing the whole thing in, just get in the actual blade line itself. So just around about up here, we're just going to show the corner edge of a shoulder blade. It's up like so. Lovely. And then on this side, again, we're going to draw it in, obviously further across, more pulled in and foreshortened. But around about here, we'll just get this other shoulder blade line in as well. So one there and one there. Those are the bits we're usually going to show. Obviously what's going on is there's all sorts of stuff and thing happening right round here and right up here. But that's how we like to actually show it and describe it through standard anime drawings. You just get a little bit here, a little bit there. Now that's the hard area essentially out of the way. After that, where the spine, as I mentioned down here, curves into the trunk muscles, we don't worry too much about the trunk on either side, but we do certainly highlight the fact that the spine, or the divot or the shadow created where the spine actually is, surrounded by muscle on either side, just curves up and creates this flow, creates this line of the back. Then we get to worry about the sort of underside muscles, ones that pull you up, the lats. And on this character, we're just going to describe that as coming down and around here, like so. And on this side, in maybe a little bit more, just because of the angle that the character's standing on. I'm just going to take a little bit off this edge there. Lovely. And bring it round here. Excellent. Before curving right back out onto here, where we've got the hips. Lovely. Now on this side here, we're essentially just going to come straight down. We've got some more lat stuff happening here, and then we're kind of curving into where the hips start to come out for this character around about here. And on the bottom part of the back, really, we can just let things drop down into where the spine just joins the top of the bum, really, and it does its own thing. So around about there. You can get some bum dimples in. We've discussed the divots and bum dimples a little bit more in the other torso tutorial that I've already linked to, so check the cards there. But basically, this is kind of how we're describing the shapes of the back when it comes to putting it onto a piece of paper. So I hope that has been of some help, really. Really roughly, loosely, and badly described the main groupings of muscles. We're not going to get into every single fibre of everything. We just need to understand what's going on and why we're drawing these various shapes in here. The important bit is the curve of the spine. Get that right. Understand that it starts at the very back of your head. If you reach round and feel right at the base of your skull on the back and follow that spine as it comes right down there, right down the middle, curves in as your back comes in with good posture, and then really in this example it doesn't really kind of go back off to the right, just flattens straight down and out towards the center of the spine, but it hopefully gives you that idea, that shape and that form. So the last bit we just need to cover for this particular tutorial, and well done, we're 2/3 of the way through, I hope you're keeping up, is just a very quick example of drawing a standard anime character from the side. Now again, we've talked all about head heights and proportions and relationships and ratios and all the other tutorials. We've been marching our way through them. But let's go back to a head drawn from a side view. Again, this is something we've covered before, so don't forget to kind of click on all the links and things I've got in the comments and descriptions. There's a whole massive playlist of tutorials of how to draw stuff in anime and manga style. As of right now, whilst this video is coming up, they're all still mostly focused on the female form. But don't you worry, you sweet things, we'll be getting around to the guys eventually as well, all in good time. So I'm just trying to make this into a very rough, acceptable silhouette of a female character's face. Probably have an eye around about there. Let's not worry about that too much. And let's talk about this whole spine zone. So again, shoulders down around about here. Hips are going to be, I don't know, somewhere around about here in this example. And this is where I really want to talk about the curve of the spine. So again, the way that I like to imagine things is it needs to have an okay weight. In drawing a character and having them stand around, it has to be believable that they're not floating around in the air, that they're balanced, or at least in motion in a way that makes sense. Now, the spine is a great way to kind of indicate the posture of the character and where all the weight is. So I always tend to start there. So if I come down here, obviously you're coming down and you're creating the back of the neck. But then around about the shoulders, the spine is going out the back, like so, and then it's curving in. All of this zone, all of this area here, is the spine gently curving in like this. Now I might over accentuate this curve, which is absolutely fine, just to get a bit of an idea. But then I'm going to be drawing the basic shapes on top of it. So it curves in all the way down here. You get into the lumbar region of the spine here, just above the bum. And that's where it has its tightest curve back out, just like so. So it's this gentle curve out and down, back in, and then it hooks right back out. And that's where you start to draw like the bum and the hips come in and all of that stuff. So if we go back to drawing the basic shapes that we like to get in, you can imagine that your chest from a side-on view is not straight down. We know thankfully to the curve of the spine, but it actually is leaning back and goes forward towards the middle. So this whole elliptical building block shape that we like to put in like this is curved like so. Excellent. Let's get a cheeky bit of neckline up in there for this character. And then once we've got that main zone in, obviously we can worry about the hip zone being over here and coming through. But I like to drop down and have, on this character, we're just going to have a very flat tummy. Although obviously you can just keep going out and further out if you want, because there's no one body shape. This is just guidelines for a very rough overview design. But if we just go straight down and flat for a tummy around about here, and then when it comes to the hip side on, because obviously you're doing a bit of bum from the side as well, it's okay to just start get really circular. So let's get this rough circle shape in like so. We can have the bum coming out a little bit here, and the bum flattens off when it tucks in at the bottom. So you might have a lovely curve, arc or shape around here, but it's going to tuck straight back in and flatten out there. And what you'll notice now is that because of the hip centering here, we drop a line down here, the legs are going to actually be quite far back. And by what I mean here is that if we get the front of the thigh in for a leg shape, it's going to drop down like so. Obviously it's a bit flatter from the behind version, and the legs just keep going down off the page. The only reason I'm happy to draw a slightly more close-up version here is because, again, and if I'm allowed to put in that many cards, hopefully something up in the top corner, risky, showing you our basic bum and legs tutorials as well. This is just an opportunity to get some other examples in and bring it all together a little bit more. Synergy. Now, when it comes to the side of these characters, obviously it's a very simple shape we've got in. We've got the neck, we're going to have the back of the shoulders around about here. We've got the spine that comes in and drops into the lumbar region here before coming out to a bum. And I'm not going to draw in detail at all an arm on this character. I will show you where the arm is in the body, so to speak, where it actually meets in. It's around about here. So if you imagine you've got the shoulder of the character around about here. The collarbone is around about this zone here. The rib cage actually will probably come off down the side here and have a few lines up here that will either represent ribs or musculature as everything tucks back in. You can do all sorts of things around here if you want. You can get the side of the abdominal wall marked in down here if you like, if it's a very lean and cut character. Everything drops into the hips and pelvic area and comes straight back down like so. And then on this example, if we just give this character a chest, let's not go mental. We'll have a boob that just comes up and out here, like so. You'll notice a slightly inverted line here, and a very curved line down there for the bottom part. It just comes up on the side ever so slightly, and then up towards the shoulder joint. But that is basically it, everybody. Let's have one last look through the camera phone. Excellent. I hope that gives you an idea. We've got the back of the character, how that's built up, the lines that we're actually bothering to show on this, and I'll probably try to, now that you've seen the building blocks, erase a little bit of this just to show what I've left in. And then I'll do a similar thing here, just give a very light bit of shading to this character. Maybe I'll try to make this one into an actual character or give this some basic shape in a little bit of time lapse. And then I'll see you guys right at the end. Welcome to the time lapse part of the video. Mikey Mega time lapse. I hope you're learning to draw good bags. I bloody love drawing, so join along. Click like and subscribe, and we'll continue on with more tutorials. Mikey Mega. I hope you bloody love these awful sing-song bits in the back of the video. They're so cringe, don't I know it though? Mikey Mega bloody loves drawing things. I hope you do too. I want to draw with you. And welcome back. So I hope that helps to give you a little bit of an idea of what's going on in the backs of your characters. We've got the breakdown of the shapes. More importantly, the areas that you're actually going to highlight on these shapes. And this is still really rough, full of smudges and construction lines. It's not really here to win any awards. The point of this tutorial is to show you that the bottom, the lumbar area of the back dips in. So I've just shown that it's ever so slightly in shadow. The rest of it arches out a bit before it goes into that drop. And you've got your shoulder blade lines, usually a line at the bottom of the spine. You can keep that really, really simple without worrying about all these other bits of shading I've put in, just to help you understand the forms and the shapes. You can really drop it down to some very slight basics. And simply because there's been some requests to draw an anime character from the side, we did do it, to be fair, a fair bit in some of the boobs tutorials as well. We had some good side angle shots. But as a really rough overview, it does come in handy when we're talking about the spine. This shape, as it drops out the neck, curves out, curves in, and drops into the actual sort of tailbone where it all links into the bum area. Well, that pretty much gets that out the way. This isn't like the world's most amazing tutorial. It's just an overview of the back and how you might want to draw it and highlight it in. I bloody hope you found it useful. And let me say, if you've made it to the end of this video, a great big thank you to you for watching all the way along. It really helps me out, and that is really cool. So it seems like a great opportunity just to say thank you in general. I get loads of messages from you guys saying how you've quite found these tutorials useful, or you're really getting into drawing. And I just want to say a great big thank you to each and every one of you. I bloody love reading through them. And don't forget all the other bits. There's links to my Patreon account if you ever want to help support a random guy who likes making tutorial videos on the internet. Link in the description below and in the little screen at the end. Otherwise, I hope you guys have lovely lives. Click like, click subscribe, and I'll see you next time round. So yeah, as I was saying, many thanks for watching again. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We've got loads of stuff going on. And of course, if you want to get involved with Patreon, where we've got loads of behind the scenes bits, not safe for work stuff, and other rewards and thank yous, or if you simply want to support a stranger because you bloody love learning to draw, then come get involved, and I promise me love you long time. Take care.